Good morning, my name is Michael Carey, and today I will be explaining and demonstrating percussion rhythms and modern percussion. Let me first tell you about how everything gets started when you get into a beginning band with percussion. I don't know if y'all may know, but this is a drumstick, and they come in various sizes. This is 5B. It's a international coding that they do for different diameters and lengths for sticks. This is a 5B and this is a 5A, and I don't know if y'all can tell much difference, but one is thicker than the other, and one is also a little bit longer than the other. They come in wood tips, or they can come in plastic tips or nylon tips, and this just gives you a more crisp sound, especially on cymbals and for drum sets. This is a marching stick. This is what they call a T1 because it's so fat. And you typically use these for drum sets and this for marching band. This is a mallet. This is a bass drum mallet. It's quite old, but it relatively stays the same throughout the years. They haven't changed much, whereas it comes to its grip, and it's made of metal and also has a hard felt beater at the end. With these sticks, you can get a lot of different sounds out of drums. The thicker sticks, you get a loud wallop, and with the thinner sticks, you get more of a crisp attack. I'll show you a difference. All right. This is the snare drum, and the snare drum is just comprised of what these are: lugs on either side, a lug casing, a shell, and two hoops. Typically, a snare drum usually has a little screw with a felt pad on the inside of it that deadens the head, but a lot of the more modern drums don't do that anymore. So you can buy things, either foam or these are Remos, and this one's thinner, so you can have a little more of what they call ring or overtone, and this one's a little bit thicker. And there's a difference. Without it, it's like that. With it, that's how I like it. I don't like the ring very much. I'm going to start by saying that when you get into rhythm, rhythm is comprised of many notes. If y'all probably know, I'm sure y'all probably drive down the road and tap on your steering wheel or something to a song, and I'm just going to explain a little bit about that. I'll start with parameter. Parameter is basically what they call a measure, and it usually comprises of 5 lines and 4 spaces. On it, the notes are what they call a whole note, a quarter note, a half note, an eighth note, and a 16th note. To get a certain amount of notes into a measure or parameter, a quarter note gets 1/4 of a beat. The half note gets 1/2, eighth note gets 1/8, and the 16th note gets 1/16. The value of this is 4. So when you are on a staff, say you have 4/4 time or common time, that means 4 beats per measure, and the quarter note gets the beat. You can also have 4/2 or 2/1. It's just all mathematical. But common time is usually what you hear on any given song. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. And with that, your quarter note is comprised as such. You get 2 eighth notes for every quarter note, and 4 16th notes per quarter note in a given rhythm. You may see something as such as what they call odd time. Odd time is when you have an odd for the numerator and even for the denominator. And that, yeah, like that. So how you would count that is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So when you do it in a beat at a faster speed or tempo, it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And that's where you get a lot of your Polynesian beats. And what they like to call world beats. So this is a measure with your 5 lines, 4 spaces, and this is your timing, or your parameter. All right, I need some volunteers. I'd like to split up this half of the class and this half of the class, and I need someone to do shakers. So if you could come up, you can do a shaker. And anyone else like to do a shaker? You can come up and do a shaker. This is an egg shake. Shakers come in many sizes. Like this one is very small and it's filled with BBs, and it gets a type of sound like that, kind of like a rattlesnake. And this shaker is filled with larger wooden beads, which can be refillable. You can put BBs and make many sounds. You can hold a shaker like that, or you can just have the full open sound like that. This is a triangle, as I'm sure you'll probably know. This is usually typically used in concert and symphonic bands. Today, you hold it like that when it usually comes out with a string, and you hold it. And sometimes you'll get the new beats today, you usually just hit it like that and you get a sound. But in our modern day, they've those in rock bands or groups put a choke on it, so it's like that. You just deaden the sound. I need someone to play triangle. I'd like to do that. You can come play triangle. All right. This big ugly thing over here is the bass drum, and it's just a loud, low, deep tone sound. And when you hit it, it's just real low. And this is a marching bass drum. Bass drum can range from very small to very large. So I need someone to come play bass drum. By the way, this was the heartbeat of the last fall. Anyways, I need someone to play with the egg. You can come up here first. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the rhythms that I showed you, and we're going to play together as a class. I want this half of the classroom to clap a beat for me. All it is in 4/4 time. All it is clap, 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 clap. Clap with me. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and y'all watch it. There you go. Keep that going. Shannon needs you to play short beats. Just straight beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. There you go. Just keep that going. Claps. There you go. Shakers, I need to shake with the beat. Keep that going. grip. I was playing match earlier, but this is a traditional grip. This is what they do in the four-style marching band. Let's give it a try. That's my speech. Thank you. Thank you and good night.
Good morning. I'm here to talk to you this morning about horse whispering, and more so on Mr. Monty Roberts. Most people don't really understand what it means to train a horse and not break a horse, and how a horse really has feelings. Mr. Monty Roberts is a real-life horse whisperer that is really becoming famous these days on his methods that he uses. And Monty, as a child, figured out when he was only 7 that he could communicate with a horse by the horse's actions and body language, and not by beating or hitting or using violent manners. His father was one of the ones that, when he was growing up, said that you don't know what you're talking about, and had only one way of breaking a horse, and that was breaking his spirit, which was the most important and most precious, I think, of a horse, is his spirit. Monty calls his silent language or communication of a horse equus. And equus is something that he's used for a long time. He used it in silence and practiced it since his father was so overbearing toward him and would actually beat Monty when he was a young child for telling him that it really did work, saying, "Hey, Dad, it works. You don't have to, use the ropes and tie them up and everything." And Monty received several beatings, he told in this video. I've got a picture, I know this is kind of hard to see out of this book, of some of the ways that his dad did it. And what he's doing is he's got ropes tied all over the horses and got them sitting actually and laying down on the ground. And then Monty over here in these pictures using his methods and nothing but a rope halter in his hand and walking up and petting a wild horse. Monty had many influences, one of which I have a quote from, and it was a Greek cavalry officer that said, "A fit of passion is a thing that has no foresight in it, and so we often have to see the day when we gave way to it. Consequently, when your horse shies at an object and is unwilling to go up to it, he should be shown that there is nothing fearful in it, least of all for a courageous horse like him. But if this fails, touch the object yourself that seems so dreadful to him, and lead him up to it with gentleness." Monty also agrees that riders who force their horses Monty also agrees with this quote saying, "Riders who force their horses by the use of a whip only increase their fear, for they then associate the pain with the thing that frightens them most." Monty, in this video that I will show you a clip of later, is working with a racehorse who has been very much beaten trying to go into a starting gate, and he will not now go into a starting gate without hurting somebody, in that he's been, when he would stop or balk a little bit going into the gate, then they would come behind him with whips and everything, and it took Monty almost 4 months to straighten out the problem, to communicate with his horse and figure out just what had happened to him. Monty also gives us 4 important factors in dealing with a horse of any kind, really, whether it's starting a young horse or an old horse with bad habits. First of all, never whip, hit, or beat at all. That's a no-no. Have patience, form the relationship, and always be gentle. Monty calls his when he forms his relationship, he calls it a join-up. And a join-up is simply forming the bond or the relationship with a horse where the horse will trust you. And this video shows him achieving a join-up with the horse. And this is a racehorse that has had some problems.
The join-up is important for a horse, establishing his willingness to work with a human.
This horse is very unwilling
Now
to
we
listen.
have a totally different horse in this enclosure than we had when we came in here. The horse that you saw who would walk over the top of me and who would walk away from me and not pay attention is now respectful, congenial. We have a relationship. He's aware of where I am, what I'm doing, and is believing in me.
People didn't always bring horses to Monty. In fact, traditional horse trainers shunned him. Among the most vocal opponents was his own father. Monty's father believed that horses only learn through fear. Hurt them
This is some of the
first,
things
or they'll
that he
hurt
did.
you, was
His
his
father
philosophy.
did. It shows how he broke.
Breaking a horse's will would often inflict serious damage. When Monty was only 7, his father made him break horses in this way.
Those pictures right there of his father were about the same ones that are in his book. This is Monty's book that he's written about his training and his methods. One thing he inflicts mostly is that there's a difference between breaking and so-called training or taming. And breaking is when you break their will, as he was saying. And to a horse, that's its most important thing. A horse only knows to run away from something or to fight something. That's its natural way of defense. And he says that training is just simply teaching a horse. You don't have to break anything, break their will. Let them be who they are as we do as humans. Everybody's different in who we are. We have our own personalities. Each horse has their own personalities, and that's one thing Monty wants to keep in every horse he works with, is keep their own personality. Just teach them a little bit. A lot of people want to know, can it work? Yeah, it can work. Monty gives clinics at his ranch, and he also has instructional videos that you can buy and order from him. I also have a kind of personal experience that I've tried, and this is a couple of pictures of my young horse that I started with. He had been beaten a couple of times with lariat ropes. He's very, very scared of them, and most of all that I can use with him is patience, and he and I have formed a relationship where he trusts me and will pretty well do about anything I want him to because he trusts me and knows that I will not hurt him in any way. I also want to tell you one of Monty's greatest achievements and one of the things he's becoming most known for is riding a wild Mustang. It took him about a week he spent all day on a horse running and staying with this Mustang. And it was a Mustang Stallion that he did achieve. And after about a week, he was riding this horse wherever he wanted to go. And the horse was in full cooperation and had no, he never, once hit him or anything. And he took everything very well. I wanted to show you one more picture. One of the things Monty is also good for is a lot of horses that go crazy and stuff during races or anywhere will be put to sleep if they hurt somebody, especially racehorses. And these pictures here are of a racehorse. His name is Lamotus, and he was one of the starting gate problems that almost killed somebody at a starting gate. And Monty took the horse, and it says right here in the book that on June the 23rd, 1991, 10 days after Monty had met this horse, he loaded in a starting gate peacefully with Monty by his side and went out to win the race. And they reinstated him as a racehorse because they had shunned him from the races because he had hurt someone. So it goes to show that just a little patience and using this method will really work. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Hickson, and I'm going to speak to you today about using the safety devices that your car provides and also traveling correctly. The three main safety devices that come to mind are definitely seat belts, and for now coming in, airbags and car seats for small children. Seat belts in Arkansas, only half the people in Arkansas wear seat belts, and that's really shocking because as many wrecks that occur and as many cars are on the road, more people should be concerned about what's going to fix to hit them, or more concerned. I spoke with John Kerry, Michael's father, and he said that Arkansas currently spends $2.3 billion in automobile crashes that result from people not wearing their seatbelt, or people driving drunk or speeding, or not having a child in their safety seat. And $137 billion is spent in the U.S. So if everybody would wear their seatbelt, it would cut back a lot on the nation's debt. But you might think to yourself, I drive a big truck, and if something hits me, I'm just in this big tank thing, and nothing's going to happen to me. But through 1987 and 1990, 2,220 people were killed, and 636 of those were in trucks. And of that 636, 43% of those were thrown from their vehicle, and that's a pretty great number. And when you're thrown from your vehicle, you're 4 times more likely to die. And 82 of those 636 people were wearing their seatbelt, and they were killed. But in a lot of instances, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. If you're wearing a seatbelt, if you had cotton all around you, if you get hit by a train, you're going to die. And personally, I've been in 2 wrecks, one of which I was driving, another one which I wasn't driving. I hate that friend. Anyway, I was riding, and we tailed into my band director, and we weren't wearing seatbelts, and I hit the glass. We weren't going but 30 miles per hour, but I hit the glass. My head went between the dash and the windshield, so I had some scars and stuff. And the one I was driving, which was kind of almost embarrassing more than painful, but I was wearing my seatbelt, and I hit a school bus head on going 30 on a gravel road, and that wasn't too comforting, especially when people were making fun of me that I hit a big yellow school bus. Anyway, most people look at seatbelts and say, well, there's a bunch of myths about seatbelts, like I'm going slow and I don't need to buckle up. Most crashes are below 40 miles an hour, and if you're going 30 miles an hour and you go through a windshield, it's like you're being thrown. It's like jumping off a 3-story building. Compared with the impacts are just about the same. So most people don't jump off 3-story buildings most often, just because you're going slow. Another one is I'd rather be thrown clear of the wreckage. And if you think about that now after knowing, you're 4 times more likely to die. But if you look back on the reason on number 1, you're falling out of a 3-story building, and you want to be thrown further. So maybe it's 5-story building now. And the other myth is I'm afraid to be trapped in a burning or submerged car, and that's a pretty good reason. But less than 0.5% of crashes involve people being burned in the car, or the car burning, or being submerged in the water. But if you are wearing your seatbelt when that happens, you're more likely to be less hurt, so you can easily get out of the car. Most people think, why should we wear seatbelts? I mean, it's just a big hype. But if you think about the insurance companies are want your business for your money. They don't care about your health, most of them. So if they're saying, I want you to wear your seatbelt, they want you to wear your seatbelt because they want your money, not for you to get hurt, so they would lose money. So if that's incentive enough, all the insurance companies and the government wanting you to wear your seatbelt because they want money, it's got to be safe and it's got to save lives. Right now I got a little demonstration, and this is a basketball, of course, but it demonstrates a car. And when you hit the car, say the floor is a fixed object like a tree or an embankment, it comes back and it recoils, and for every action there's opposite but equal reaction. Shannon, can you come over here? This is little man, and this represents you.
That's me.
You're in your car, and you're driving around. I want you to hold both of them.
Okay.
Right here. Now drop them at the same time. You get shot this way, and that's like being thrown out of your vehicle. And like I said earlier, you're 4 times more likely to die. So when your car's going 40 miles an hour, you're going 40 miles an hour, and you come to a complete stop. The car comes to a complete stop. You're going to fly out, or you're going to keep on going 40 miles an hour. Now, if anybody can go ahead of me, this is a seatbelt. That's enough. Okay. You're here. You're seatbelted into your car. If you can imagine. And you know, you're going 70 this time. Sure, you get the impact, but you're not 100 feet down the road. That's not a demonstration on that. Another little story I like to tell you. It's a little tragic. Could you help me out for a second? Okay, can you sit there? Okay, this is the dash in your car. Some people, most teenagers, put your feet up here. Ride with their feet on the dash. You know, they're just chilling, they're cruising around. Try to put your head between your knees as far as you can go. It gets pretty painful. Okay, that's all. You notice most people cannot put their head between their knees all the time, very comforting. But in this one case, this girl was riding with her feet on the dash, and I don't know if they hit an embankment, a tree, a telephone pole, but the car came to a complete stop. And if you could imagine, her feet were on the table, the dash, and when she saw this, she didn't have time to react like, ooh. So she was in the dash, so she braced herself for a wreck. Of course, when something goes like this, your legs are going to come up and you're going to go forward and this is going to hurt. So, I'm a little taller. Okay, her face and her head and her knees, her body just squunched up like this, and her head went between her knees, and the impact was so bad, it ripped her face this way, and then came back and her face was ripped off. So that's very tragic, and I'm sorry before lunch, but closed casket, by the way. And it's really, if you ride around in vehicles safely, and like airbags, for instance, most people, airbags are for most people, but people between lower than 5 feet, like myself, they get in there and they should be 12 inches from the airbag, and of course they need to wear their safety belt. If they don't wear their safety belt with the airbag, you're more likely to get hurt anyway. So if you were too close to the airbag, then you're going to get hurt. That's pretty much what I have today on seat belts, and I'd like to encourage you, just off this statistics, you need to wear your seat belt and just be safe while you're driving. Thank you.